Hello and welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show. I'm Zach. This is Pastor John Miller.
Morning.
Okay, let me list our sponsors and then we'll get on with it. I'd like to thank Mortgage Financial here in Texarkana. I'd like to thank Elmwood Custom Goods. And I'd like to thank Church on the Rock. That's churchontherock.org. And Pastor John, thank you guys for believing in me. And thank you for always being willing to schedule a time with me.
Well, we do believe in you. I mean, God's given you a voice and a platform, and you love Jesus, and
That's
it's at the
key.
heart of who you are and what you do,
Right.
and you take it in the marketplace, and that's where Christianity should be, not just in the church building, but in the world, in the community. I mean, that's where we're salt and light.
Well, and that's kind of what I wanted to get in today with, as you know, and let me just say this: I appreciated so much the Sunday after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Well, actually, I texted you on that Friday, like, and you said, "Oh, I was
Yeah,
working on," and then
yeah,
I didn't put together what you were doing until I got to Sunday because you said, "Oh, I'm still working on my message." And I thought, man, that's really put through. But by the time you got to your message, you mentioned you did two sermons basically
yeah,
that weekend. So
yeah.
basically, you did six sermons that weekend. By the time we had three services, but you made sure and talk about what Charlie Kirk was, how it affected us, what he stood for, which was his faith and was Jesus. All the politics aside, and I really appreciated the fact that you took the time to do that. So with that being said, it's to me, it's as if we've gotten hyper political real fast, but I think it's been building over time. And then we're seeing a draw to Christianity, and I just don't know how that plays to politics. Can you have politics without religion? Is kind of where I want to go with this.
Well, in a nutshell, uh, every person, every movement, every nation, every city, every company has values
Hmm.
that drive it, that are important to it. And politics, uh, as America, if we could step back, you know, really till America's founding. I mean, I think if you have any questions that America's founding fathers were Christians by and large, most of them were.
Right.
Go to a website, David Barton, wallbuilders.com, and read. He's got original source document quotes. He's even got a lot of the documents. You'll see that these men and women were by and large devoutly religious Christian people. Of course, the Pilgrims came for religious freedom and
Right.
all that. But since that time, America has had, just like ancient Israel, ups and downs.
Hmm.
There's been times when we were close to God and times when we were far away. Hence, in America's history, there were what were called great awakenings.
Right.
So God would bless America. America would fall into sin. The Holy Spirit would visit the hearts of people, and it would kind of be a bounce back. And I hate to use the word religion, but I'll use it. There would be a bounce back where the values of religion begin to permeate culture and society more.
Right.
Well, in my lifetime, I'm 68. We have been in a pull away from God.
Okay.
You
Yep.
know, this really started in the 1950s.
Okay.
The 1950s is when we added the word under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. It's when we put in God we trust on all of our money.
Okay.
Uh, and that was in response to communism.
Hmm.
Communism, as Russia was becoming a world superpower, communism, we Americans back then wanted to make a stand to show that we are decidedly Christian. But in the 1960s, Time magazine, God is Dead. The Supreme Court reflected culture, no Ten Commandments in schools, but it wasn't just Ten Commandments in schools. It was a culture pulling away from God. And that became the value system. And over the last 50, 60 years, politics has taken over the domain of which should rightly be under the umbrella of biblical values. I mean, you take abortion, you take marriage, you take gender issues, hot topics, violence.
Right.
Well, these are all biblical topics that are addressed in values that should be embraced.
Right.
But what the secular world has done is basically They have falsely taken the concept of separation of church and state. It was a phrase introduced by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptist Association, assuring them that we would not have a state church. And it was so
Because we came from England,
That's right.
where we I mean,
That's right. And it was so important to them that the First Amendment in the Bill of Rights was not just the freedom from religion, but it was the freedom to practice our religion.
right.
And I think it was in the 18 something, maybe 1860s, but the Supreme Court first drew out that phrase.
Mhm.
And that became kind of like evolution replaced the creator. It became the phrase to secularize politic away from the church
Gotcha.
and the Bible away from values. And what we've ended up with is a secular nation that basically says you keep your church stuff inside the church building.
Right.
Well, that is not biblical concept. We're supposed to take our Christianity in the world. It should be reflected in our culture. And that's to answer your question, politics and religion, biblical values should form the basis of politicians' decisions.
Right. Well, and the reason I set it up with religion and not faith in Jesus or something like that, because take Christianity out of it for a second.
Sure.
And I'm gonna go a little political here, which I know, stop me if I go too far. But there are a lot of religions in our politics now. Climate, gender,
Humanism.
humanism. So so when I say religion, that's why I wanted to say, like, because if we're taking it out, then you have to take it all out. But everybody's led by, as you said, a set of beliefs, which becomes their religion, which they make it. I mean, people make an idol out of the Dallas Cowboys,
Yeah.
much less the
They
climate.
have religion without God,
Yes.
because uh, in the broadest sense, God, apart from the biblical teaching, is that which you worship,
Hmm.
and you worship that which you give your time, effort, money, and passion towards. So
Yes.
that's a insightful comment there, as we have a lot of godless religions, or at least people respond to them as they would a religion.
Well, and so that's why when I look at it, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If we're going for religion now, faith in Jesus, you know, is what I believe, and is what you believe, and that's what our religion is. But that's why I think you can't do that, because I don't want to elect someone that has no moral compass.
Well, they have a moral compass. It just
Mm.
may not be a biblically moral compass.
Oh, that you know
M-
what?
m-
That's
Morality for them may be, I don't know, take sexual morality.
uh-huh.
The Bible teaches that God created man and woman,
Right.
each distinct,
Hmm.
in our physical bodies, and
Right.
the way the whole thing works. God created that.
Right.
And he created as male and female. And the purpose of marriage, Genesis 24, echoed by both Jesus and Paul, is that a man will leave his wife, his family, joined to his wife. The two shall become one flesh. Picture of sexual intercourse. The human race is
Right.
propagated. Joy in the relationship, and the bonding hormones are released in
Right.
that intimate experience. Well, that's a biblical. That's a value. So is my value in politics
Right.
for marriage to be defined as a man and a woman? Or is it broader than that? Is it two men? Is it three men? Is it, two women? Is it whatever? A man and his dog? Is it polygamy? I mean,
Where's the stop
yeah,
if they're
where's the boundaries? And since I think the modern idolatry is the worship of self,
Mm.
which means that I get to determine right and wrong.
Well, I know you've heard this, and it's an aggravating thing towards me, or if not towards me, to me, when someone goes, "Well, my truth is,"
Mhm.
and I say, "Well, there is the truth, which I hold and you hold to being Jesus Christ." But we don't all truth isn't relative, but that's what our society has seemed to try to make it.
Well, I tell you a good way to show that you're not God.
Okay.
Hold your breath.
That's
Just hold
exactly
your
right.
breath, wait about 30, 45, a minute, maybe a minute and a half.
Yeah.
If you're super duper, wait 2 minutes. But at some point, you're going to exhale and you're going to not be able to survive without oxygen.
Yes.
I mean, we are not God. We don't get to make the rules.
Right.
We are human, frail human flesh.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, and I wasn't trying to, but it's just it's in today, especially after Charlie Kirk and all of this. It just seems relevant to where we are. That there's pushback now. There's also a great awakening, like you said, again towards Christ right now. I mean, we're seeing it all over the country, all over the place. That what was it? I just saw a clip of a church over the weekend had 700 confessions to the Lord.
Wow.
And now it was a big church. Or the Turning Point Faith Hub uh, prayer rally on Sunday. I mean, or Turning Point in general. You're seeing the country start to move that way, and so I think this is something.
Well, it absolutely is. My wife sent me an article, 8,000 students seeking Jesus at the University of Tennessee. 8,000 saved and blown. Last night here in Texarkana, we had what's called Fields of Faith, which
Yeah,
is the ministry of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I went last night. It was more people than I have ever seen
really.
at the event. And I don't have a total number of how many people made steps to Christ, but every weekend, even in our medium-sized church, we have people coming to Christ. It could be 10, 15, 20. A couple weeks ago, it was 30 something making commitments or recommitments to Christ. So basically, what Charlie Kirk did, if I could give you a little perspective,
Uh-huh.
in my opinion, he was like a John the Baptist.
Okay.
John the Baptist's role was to prepare the way of Christ.
Mm,
And what Charlie did, 31 years of age, he had this God given intellect and capacity to communicate intelligently to college students, gathering crowds of thousands and thousands across America
wow.
and addressing the arguments of the day, not in a bigoted, self-righteous way, but just in a factual, rational way. And he was impact. I was not aware of the impact that he had until I heard that there were between 90 and 100,000 people that went to his memorial service. It filled up a football stadium and the adjoining baseball stadium, and that's not to mention everybody that watched it on social media.
Over a
So,
100 million
so, so,
online views of it.
that says something. What it says to me is the younger generation. Now, see, I'm a bit older. I was raised in a biblical culture,
Hmm.
even if it wasn't where we call traditional values, even though it wasn't biblically forthright as we know it today. But kids today are raised basically with the philosophy there is no God, a human life is not in the womb, there's no purpose for your life other than what you make it to be.
Right.
And they're realizing that this stuff doesn't work. They're smart enough to know that we didn't come from two amoebas that bumped together and said,
Mm.
"Hey, baby, you look good." I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
really.
Yeah, because where's the half horse, half man? If all that if
Uh,
all that happened.
it takes more faith to believe that what we see in creation came apart from a creator,
Oh,
that the
absolutely.
design came apart from an intelligent designer. It takes a lot of faith to believe that.
Right.
But anyway, Charlie Kirk spoke into that generation, and what he's doing is I think, he captured the awareness of a need for God
Hmm.
in a generation that didn't even realize they were searching.
Hmm.
And I hope and believe and pray that this is the beginning of another Jesus movement like we experienced in the 70s and 80s.
I don't see how it's not. To me, Charlie Kirk was a modern day combination of, on the civil rights side, what Martin Luther King Jr. did, and Billy Graham. He's like just
Yeah.
a good mix of, because Billy Graham was playing stadiums and everything else, and we didn't know Charlie Kirk was, but all of a sudden, millions of people. So anyway, all that going, I feel the movement happening. But when that happens, any action is going to create a reaction, and so here we are, and it looks like there's a pushback on it now.
Well, and this again, those that are pushing back in such a vile and violent way are just simply reinforcing the what young people were searching for. This is wrong.
Right.
A man was violently killed. Someone just took a 30-06, a rifle, and shot him in front of his wife, probably his kids,
Mm,
killed him dead. And that was wrong. Even issues like free speech, in the Bill
right.
of Rights. They realize everybody has a right to quote share their opinion. But excuse me, when
Yeah.
we share our opinion, freedom of speech does not guarantee me the right to say anything I want to. For
Right.
example, let's just say I start using the N word
Oh,
between you and I.
yeah.
And I don't know, say it half a dozen times, and you're going to get so much blowback. It's going to blow up, social media,
Right.
because we realize there are certain things that, as a civil society,
Right.
as a society built on the dignity of every human being, that we just don't say,
Right.
even though we have the freedom. Now, you can hold your opinion,
Right.
but just because you have an opinion, it doesn't give you the right to say it,
Right.
nor should you.
Right.
And I think that's probably what we're grappling with, is the boundaries of free speech.
Mm.
You know, uh, like right now, I think last I heard there was over 250 complaints of teachers in Texas that had made comments. We've got one right here in Texarkana
And
that
I
that's
believe they've now been gone from suspension to removal.
okay.
I'm
Well,
not 100% on that, but
well,
the last I
well,
heard that was what
well.
was.
That is not a teacher's role.
Mm-mm.
This may be overly simplistic, but teachers are supposed to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're not
Say
supposed,
it ain't so.
you know what I mean? They're not supposed to just have a freedom to spout off anything that they want to,
Right.
and particularly impressionable children.
Right.
Now, as we get in college age, I don't have a problem exposing kids to worldly thought or secular or unbiblical thought, as long as we're given a biblical alternative.
Both sides.
But to just force feed them a secular philosophy is wrong,
Right.
because college campuses were at one time the place of, where freedom of thought ruled.
Liberal. That
and
was liberal,
and
right?
and yeah, you're a grown man or woman, and you can make your own decisions, and here's both sides, you decide. But now it's been force fed,
Yes.
and if they didn't like what the professor was saying, they fired them.
Right.
That's communism.
Well, and I mean, you can see that. I mean, we don't have to get into it, but with Mandami up in New York, I mean that's the other side, right? That's where things are going. Well, so let's play the. We don't want to force feed anything into the Ten Commandments in the classroom role here in Texas, and I'm going to give you a point that's not necessarily opposite of you, but it'll be different than yours. So I'm okay with the Ten Commandments being in the classroom. I think everybody ought to know them. I'm a Christian. I believe that's the way. That's the way it goes. Although I can see where the argument could be made. Hey, if you're going to have these in there, then what about all this other? Now we could let me go back to January 1963 when read into the congressional record was the Soviet plan on how to take over America, which was get rid of get rid of God, kill the family, overtake education, which is what has happened. I mean that's the country I grew up in, right? Is all that's gone. I mean maybe in first grade we prayed. Other than that, you said the pledge, kinda, and you went on. So there's differing views, but I'm okay with the Ten Commandments being in being in the classrooms. What I'm worried about is the slippery slope to, oh, do we have to have the four pillars of Islam? Do we have to have and so that's kind of where
Okay, here's what I would say: let the local community decide.
it's
If you
just that easy, isn't it?
if you're in Michigan right now, it seems to be the most prominent Muslim
Especially
oriented
Dearborn.
state in America. That troubles me.
Yep.
But on the flip side, if that's where you want to live, If you want to live in a Muslim community and send your kids to a Muslim school, you have freedom of religion to be able to do that. In Texarkana, USA, let's have a vote right here on the ballot. Do we want the Ten Commandments, or do we want Islam, or do we want whatever? And let's go with the will of the people. See, it's like we've been moving towards this centralized bureaucratic government
Right.
for all of our lives, where government has replaced self-responsibility,
Mhm.
and personal
Yeah.
responsibility. And now there's some pushback. Trump's trying to push us the other way, which is a good thing in my opinion. But
Yes.
we've been going towards this larger and larger and larger government, and socialism and communism play right into that. And what do
Yes.
you expect? Because in some respects, government becomes God.
Right.
And
And for
here's
a lot of people, it has
yeah,
already.
here's something that is inescapable. Now, if the Bible is true, one day there's going to be a one world government. One day there's going to be a one world ruler called the Antichrist.
Uh,
Well, guess what? You cannot have a sovereign free America and an Antichrist coexisting.
right.
Now, again, the Bible is true and everybody gets to make their choice. And I hope you're making a rational choice, not just a feeling choice, because the Bible is very rational and very intelligent people believe it. But
Well, we're gonna stop you, and I'm gonna let you finish your thought. We've talked about this many times on radio and on the podcast. From a secular standpoint, the Bible is used as the accurate history document of the world. So if it, because I know we say if it's true, it hasn't been proved wrong yet.
Shazam.
So I just wanted to make sure that.
Well, you take the account of Noah, just to divert just a moment.
Uh-huh.
You realize there are over, I think it's like 240 something people groups around the world that have in their heritage a an account of Noah and the flood, a worldwide cataclysmic event.
Right.
240 nations or people groups. Now that says something. I mean,
Everybody just made it up all
you
at once.
take that, you take archaeology, you take the Bible as being the most preserved manuscript in the history of the world. I mean, you take Christian apologetics. I mean, you look at all these things, and rational people can believe the Bible. It's not just a storybook. That's why I refer to it as the historical account of the Bible,
Yes.
not just Bible stories.
Okay. All right. So, and I wasn't trying to derail you, so I wasn't trying to derail you, but I may have messed your or derailed you so much you got off your train of thought where you were going with it. But
Well, the train's on another track now, so
yeah,
what do you want
okay.
to talk about?
Well, and that's fine. Well, with that being the case, and you have to, and then going back into government, and I wanted to say one thing, and I just didn't want to interrupt you when you were talking about our founders and the founding documents and the founding faith. You know, George Washington held that we were in covenant with God, that we were a covenant nation. And then there are even stories which I was never taught in school that I through reading and all that. George Bulletproof was called George Bulletproof. George Washington was called the Bulletproof General, the
Mhm.
Bulletproof President.
Yeah, by
So,
the Indians.
so I mean, at least for him, he's like, hey, we're in covenant with God. We're doing the right thing. I've been all shot up and not injured. So I mean, that just kind of goes to all of that. So then we got into the Ten Commandments, and I agree that that's a basis
Well,
for where we need
well,
to be.
well. Let me. Here's in a nutshell what the Ten Commandments say. Ten Commandments say there is a God.
Hmm.
He has standards,
Yep.
and I will be accountable to him one day.
Right.
Now, most things that are posted on school bulletin boards are ignored. And just because we have them up there does not mean that we're going to instantly have morality in America.
Right.
Because it's not what's on the outside that counts, it's what's on the inside of a heart of a human being. But they just could spark, you
Even if
know.
it's just, even if it's whoever. Hey, let me go look at this. Why is this relevant? And if you read the Ten Commandments, A lot of it's really relevant right
Yeah.
now,
Well,
thousands of years later.
what do you think about murder? Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not take the life of an innocent human being.
Yeah,
Right now, mass murders are I hate to use the word skyrocketing, but tragically they are increasing. You
right.
know, where people take violence and they see violence as a justifiable means to express their beliefs.
And not just here, even the massacre of the Christians across the world.
Oh,
I mean,
400 million, according to organizations that track it, Christians live under some form of persecution every day of their life.
right. Well, so let's talk about that. So going from the Ten Commandments and government and how where I was trying to go with this was tonight,
Yeah.
October the 2nd, at Church on the Rock. There's going to be a constitutional amendment forum for the proposed constitutional amendments.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to get into that one. Well, why is it okay to do that at the church? And so that I think we've covered that. Well, it's okay because that we have to know what we're talking about, right? We have to be an informed electorate,
You know, I've never heard of having 17 constitutional amendments, and I've been a Texan for 35 years.
right?
A church's role is many things. I mean, for some, it's a social fellowship. Used to be much more so in America's past.
Right.
It used to be the hub of culture and social activities. But part of a church's role is education. In early America, uh, 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 the quote preachers were some of the most educated people in America. And if you went back to study, you would find that most of the universities, well over 100 of the original universities, were founded as Bible seminary teaching institutions.
Even our Ivy League,
Oh,
Yale,
oh,
Harvard.
oh, you want to blow your mind? Go back and read your audience today. Just Google Harvard's original, I forget what they were called, but they were original guiding principles.
Okay, I'll look that up.
And it mentions Jesus, it mentions the Bible. In the state of Delaware, look at their original constitution. It says you have to be a Christian to serve in office in the state of Delaware.
I think that was 9 of the original 13.
Oh, right on there. So duh, don't tell me Christian influence was not there. I mean,
Right.
it's like, looking at the in the sky and saying, "Oh, what's that?" I
Oh,
mean,
that sun doesn't have anything to do with this. Yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly right. Well, I know you're
So
on a tight schedule, so I'll let you wrap up with how you wanna wrap it
Well,
up.
again, like you said, tonight we're having it. It starts at technically 6:30. It's going to be a round table. We've got several experts from across Texas, and they're not trying to push a political view. This
Right.
is not a Republican deal or a Democrat deal or a Libertarian. This is an America that a Texan that we are going to be discussing from
Yeah.
people that because these amendments are written by attorneys and they don't always mean what that you think they mean. And these people it's gonna be an open forum, open discussion. We are having food, come right from work, 5:30.
Right.
I think they're doing taco soup and, pulled pork or something,
Yeah.
so you can grab a little bite. And it's like I said, an open forum. It is not Republican, it is not Democrat, it is not Libertarian. So all of us have our strong convictions on that. We're just coming together as American citizens to discuss what could or what will affect generations to come in the state of Texas. So it's Church on the Rock, Texarkana, Texas. You can Google it and get you there,
Alright.
and well, good times. It's going to be technically 6:30 to 8:30, but dinner at 5:30.
Well, and I went through last week and used AI and said, "Look at this from a conservative standpoint. Tell me," and so I'm not gonna be for all these, but it's gonna be good to hear the experts because I still don't trust AI. I'm not trusting AI with everything
Oh,
I've got because somebody's programming that joker.
the Antichrist is. I mean,
I think you're right.
well, whether he's here or not, it's an
A
Antichrist
spirit,
spirit
yeah,
in the world today. But you can be assured. You ask Siri today, and or Chat GPT, you just assume that they know. Well, you're exactly right. Somebody placed in that electronic device a value,
y
and from
back
that
to our
value
discussion.
grew a tree. It's either a godly tree or a godless tree.
So the values we talked about 30 minutes ago or whenever we started this are all the way into your Chat GPT and your Grok, and that's
Yeah.
why we have to have it in our
And
government.
and we just assume, I mean, I use DuckDuckGo now for my
Absolutely.
my access to the internet,
Yes.
but whatever pops up on that first page, somebody's values put it there.
That's absolutely right.
And they're getting some pushback now. Whether you love or hate Donald Trump, he just got a lawsuit, $25 million from
Yeah.
YouTube because they were opposing and stopping him from having
Right.
his stuff out there. So I mean, it's like our world is in a bit of chaos and turmoil, and that is not a bad thing
I
because
That's
it
right.
makes people ask questions.
That's exactly right.
And
Well, Pastor John, I appreciate you being here. I always enjoy our conversations. I hope God blesses you and blesses your ministry. And everybody, we're going to get out of here. I hope God blesses each and every one of you today.
Hey,
And
don't forget churchontherock.org. If you download the app Church on the Rock Texarkana,
huh,
you can watch our weekend services at
yeah,
Saturday, 6 o'clock, Sunday, 9 and 11 Central Time. When you got the app, you can listen to stuff all the time. And I talk in church just like we've done this morning.
absolutely. And that's where I do my, we got the Bible, the yearly Bible reading. That's where I get
Yeah,
what I'm supposed to read every morning. And
yeah.
if you want to give, you can do that too. You know, Pastor
Church
John.
on the Rock Texarkana.
All right, everybody, have a great day.